Here we go. So hello and welcome to Connection and Conversations, everyone. Human connection is the most powerful, immune-boosting, health-promoting tool that you have. And I'm delighted that you're joining us today or watching us on replay, because I get to connect and chat with this gorgeous lady, Siobhan Mungoven of Keep Smiling Always. And Siobhan is a coach, she's an author, she's an entrepreneur, she's lived an incredible life for such a young woman. Hiya, Siobhan.
Hi, Sinead. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a privilege and honor.
Well, thank you. So a lot of the focus of my work is on the physical in order to impact the mental, emotional. And I get to connect with my clients through conversation and the touch therapy of acupuncture, and obviously on pulse diagnosis that I do. And then depending on where the client wants to go, we can deep dive in conversation sometimes and try and figure some issues out. And some people don't want that. But your work is a little different. And the way I see it, I guess, is that you help people to become mentally and emotionally stronger. And then the connection that develops between you and your clients, and in turn, anybody that they come into contact with, is the gift that you give to people. And this kind of work is incredible. So Siobhan, please tell everyone what you're trying to do with the people that you work with.
Well, Sinead, I help and support women to manage their inner critic, to look within and to discover self-love. And I guess what all of that means is there's 3 stages. I support them with their self-confidence, their self-esteem, but also their self-worth. So it's about digging down deep to the root of the problem. We can be doing surface work until we're blue in the face, but it's really about digging down deep and to finding out who you really are as a person. What are your dreams? What are your desires? What you truly want to get out of life, and helping people to build up their resilience, because life comes with its ups and downs all the time. Life is a roller coaster, but it's about helping you to develop coping skills, to be able to cope with life when it does maybe have a low, and to be able to help you to enjoy the highs in life as well. So that's what I do.
And what do you work with a specific group of people? I know you said women. Do you work with a particular age group, or do you work with any kind of specific group, I suppose?
I would usually work with people within their maybe late 20s, in their 30s, because I myself am in my 30s. So from kind of maybe personal experience and my skill set in which I have developed, I think it best serves me purpose in that age bracket with women.
Okay, so I know a little bit about you, Siobhan, obviously. So I know why you would have such a great skill set here. So do you mind if we go a little bit deeper and talk about you and your life, which you have written a book about? But let's we'll talk about the book at the end. Let's just talk so people can hear a little bit about Siobhan and what's brought you to here in your life.
Well, I was born with a condition that maybe some people may not be too familiar with. It's called Spina Bifida, and that's when your spine doesn't fully develop when you're born. So ultimately, my spine was open when I was born, so you have to kind of close it very very fast within a 48-hour period, so you can prevent less nerve damage as possible. So I am very fortunate that I do have my mobility. I am able to walk, even though I didn't walk until quite a late stage in my life. So I am.
So sorry, Siobhan, so you're saying, so when you were born, within the first 48 hours, you had surgery?
Yes, because ultimately you do have a bubble that forms on the end of your spine when you're born with spina bifida, so that has to be drained, and obviously there's nerve endings within that bubble, so they has to be very carefully closed to prevent more nerve damage being caused. So
Wow.
yeah.
What a start. Welcome to the world.
The world, Siobhan. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, my goodness. But so then in your childhood, did you feel different to other people, or did you just feel the same as everybody else until a certain age in your life?
Well, I was born into a household with an incredible parents, mum and dad, and my two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. And I was never felt smelled different in my household at all. Which, with two brothers around, you can imagine that
Yeah.
they are my protectors, but there's no sympathy in my house, which is the way I wanted it exactly. But obviously, then when you go to school and in national school, I found it quite tough because I'm only about 4 foot now, so I can imagine how small I was in national school. And when you're only that size and everybody else is taller around you, and I have kyphoscoliosis as well, which is scoliosis from the front and the back.
Okay.
So it's a curvature from my front side and my back. So I was different in national school. There's no point denying it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I think what has helped me massively is my bringing up with my parents and my brothers. They never made me feel different. They involved me in everything and anything. My mum, from the moment I stepped foot on a bus at the age of 3, independence was a huge thing that was instilled in me from childhood. I wasn't really smothered or wrapped in cotton wool or all of those other things that you hear. So no, it was definitely go out there, grab life with two hands and enjoy every moment because we only have today.
Absolutely. Do you think that that is what started instilling confidence and self-belief in you?
Definitely, yes, 100%. And even even with my mom is the most, like when you say role models, my mom is my role model, 100 million%, because she was younger than I am now when she had me. Like she had me at age 29, and
Mm-hmm.
thinking even with my mindset now, if I had a child with all the complications that I had,
Mm-hmm.
and there was never a moment where she said that she can't do this.
Yeah.
She always said that this is my child, this is Siobhan, she's perfect in every way.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have
Yes.
a mother that says those things about you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want to go out there and make that person proud and make that person believe in you like she's believed in you from the first moment that she held you.
Yeah.
So,
And of course, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel all that energy, for want of a better word, but as a child you feel that. And for your mum, have you ever had conversations with her now as an adult and talking like about, she must have been terrified. I mean, it's pretty scary unless she has a medical background, or does she?
she doesn't have a medical background, and
Mm.
it is very true when you said it's scary
Yeah.
because when I was born, I was born by C-section, so my mum obviously was asleep when I was born, and I was shipped off to Our Lady's Hospital in Crumlin, and I was gone, and she didn't know that I was born with spina bifida.
Wow.
She didn't know. She just thought that maybe my daughter is in a different room or something. She
Hmm.
overheard nurses speaking about, oh my goodness, isn't that really hard that this lady has a daughter now with X, Y, and Z? Like, so she overheard nurses speaking about the diagnosis which I had. So I can only imagine from her perspective how difficult that is for a parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
hearing all these words, like back 34 years ago,
Yeah.
spina bifida wasn't really a common thing here in Ireland.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I know maybe now there's 1 in 1,000 kids born with spina bifida every year, but
Hmm.
I'm not
Hmm.
sure back 30 odd years ago was it as prominent.
Yeah, yeah. So, and do you work with parents ever, Siobhan, of children who have spina bifida, or children who are born, I guess, with a lot of health challenges?
I haven't worked with them, but I definitely have been. I have connected with a good few parents who have had babies that have spina bifida because
Hmm.
again, it's very scary for them
Hmm.
to get this diagnosis and not know what it is because spina bifida is known as the snowflake condition. And
Hmm.
when I say snowflake condition, I mean every snowflake is different.
Hmm.
So every person with spina bifida is different. So
Hmm.
you can't say I'm very lucky in a way, and I know that may feel really unusual for some people to hear right now, but I consider myself very lucky.
Hmm.
spina bifida, because I do have a mild form of spina bifida. Yes, I have a whole host of different complications that have come with it, but I am very fortunate. So I try to encourage parents. Yes, the doctors have to say what they have to say. They're doctors at the end of the day. That's their job. But never underestimate your potential as a parent, but never underestimate the potential of your child. Because your child, I'm telling you, if you believe in your child, you support your child as best as possible, the world is that child's oyster.
Yeah.
And I'm living proof of that.
Absolutely. You really are. I mean, you're an absolute warrior woman. There's no doubt about that. And I know, and you're also not afraid to show your vulnerability, because none of us just sail through life. And when you do have additional challenges, well, I suppose you have your challenges and the next person has their challenges. But yours are bigger than what a lot of people have got to deal with. And some of yours are visible as well. So did that cause issues for you or not I suppose in terms of yourself, in terms of your self-belief when you became a teenager and things like, was that challenging?
Yes, I guess my teenage years are definitely, and it's not to make me to feel sorry for me, but there's definitely years I missed out on, and I'm a firm believer that I missed out on them because of myself.
Okay.
Because I got in my own way. Because I had all the people around me telling me I can do it. But as a teenager, you're in puberty, you're all of those other things.
Yeah.
A whole load of things are going on in your body. It doesn't matter how everybody can be saying X, Y, and Z. I firmly believe I got in my own way as a teenager. So I did miss out on my teenage years because of that. But I did make up.
And do you think so? So you're saying that you missed out in certain ways, but do you think there were things you gained in your teenage years in terms of resilience and strength and courage, and I suppose a growing desire to do what you wanted to do, or to get out what you wanted out of life?
Yes, I do believe in my teenage years, my survival instinct in life grew and grew and grew, because I firmly believe, and I firmly believe there's nothing I can't get through.
I believe you.
No matter what it is, I will get through it. It's going to be tough. There's no point lying. It's going to be tough, but I will get through it.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer. I learned that as a teenager. My survival instincts, my resilience was instilled in me from my parents, but I also built up that, and my coping skills as a teenager. Like, I don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
No, I didn't sweat the small stuff. Like, such big things were happening to me. The small stuff, I didn't sweat them.
Yeah.
So those things, I am very thankful for my teenage years, that I think, and a lot of people do say it to this day, oh, Siobhan, you're wise beyond your years. You've been around before, kind of a thing. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. Would you say that you observe more than, because when you're a teenager and you're doing stuff and you almost like oh, that's exciting and that's exciting, you go after that, whereas you were probably observing a lot of what was going on around you. And sometimes on the exterior it can appear to people, oh, everybody's having a great time. And did you start observing these differences in people?
yes, I was definitely, because I'm mild by nature, so I wouldn't have been the life and soul of the place. Like, I would have been the person that kind of sat back and kind of wanted to know people on a deeper level. And the element of conversation, I think, has always been a huge thing to me. And actually getting to know somebody, because at teenage years, I think, because we're all about going out and it's all about dating this one and dating that one, it's all surface based stuff. And I think, not that I ever missed out on any of that, but I didn't really have massive interest in that. I wanted to get to know people on a different level. I was always very interested in people's behaviors, or what people desired, or what really made people tick.
And do you think that people would open up to you more, that they would trust you more, or just you hear people's life stories? Because
I'm definitely, an active listener. I am somebody that listens more than talks, because giving somebody that space just to be heard, I think it's the greatest gift you can give anybody. And that's something that I have been told before, that like people that I've only met maybe that day or a couple of weeks, and yes, they would have taught me their whole life story, but it wouldn't be in a case of, oh, like that I'd be thriving on it. It'd be just a case like
Yeah.
I'd give them the space to speak and just to be their true authentic self, because I do believe a lot of us, unknowns to ourselves, are going around with masks on, and there's just no need for it. Because if you meet the right people, it may take time to meet those right people, but there's no need for masks, and you meet the people that are truly meant to be in your life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So when you work with people, then I'm going to flick forwards and backwards. So when you're working with people, when you're coaching people with your clients, what are you trying to, is this what you're trying to show people, or to find this in themselves to guide them towards that? Or what is it people are looking for, do you think?
I think nowadays, comparison. Everybody's comparing themselves to the next one. Oh, this one has a lovely car, or this one is in a high paid job, or this one has a beautiful house. Yes, but all of those things, they're external things. So I'm trying to help and support my clients to look within. And happiness isn't an external thing, it's an internal thing. And to find contentment with what you have, and to be grateful for what we have. And I think this year is living proof of what we actually have. We have lived very simply. If we really were to analyze this year, lads, we have lived very simply on little or nothing. And we're still here at the end of 2020 having this chat now, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think for me, 2020 is going to be, it's going to be a really great year for me, which sounds a little bit crazy, and I'm not taking away from the difficulties that people have had, but we actually have something in common, and waiting is definitely part of my life as well, for things to happen. And so this length of time doesn't it doesn't seem like an awful long time to me. I've waited 6.5 years for something, you know. So for me, it wasn't a huge issue. But so, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that with you, as we've had a little chat beforehand, and you're comfortable with this. So, what happened? What did you tell me the news you heard when you were 19?
Well, on October 27th, 2006, is when my life changed for forever. I was diagnosed with stage 5 kidney failure. So as you can imagine, at the age of 19, like you said, Sinead, it's devastating news, because I was asymptomatic. So I wasn't showing any symptoms of being sick at all. And you can imagine, from any other perspective, a 19-year-old, you'd all think that they're talking crazy. Because I remember the words that I said to to my mum, who was ever so constant by my side. I turned to her and said, I don't know, ma'am, where that doctor went to college, but I think he needs to go back, because he says I'm sick and I'm not.
Oh God, I would love to have been in that room, because it's very grounding, I'm sure, for a doctor to hear these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And do you think that even in saying that was a protective mechanism, or do you think you just thought, this is rubbish?
Protective mechanism, because I am one of those people that live and breathe what the doctors say. I'm not one of these people that kind of, I don't kind of dismiss what they say. I kind of do take it seriously. So at the time, it was a wall being built up, because I was age 19, and I remember sitting in the waiting room beforehand, and I felt so out of place. I felt like, I turned to my mum and I said, Ma'am, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way by any means, but like they're a lot older than me. I'm 19, like where
Yeah.
am I going with this? Like I was just so alien to me.
Yeah. Do you know the funny thing, Siobhan, is that because my background is in nursing and also I've been like yourself, I've been at the receiving end of healthcare and nobody ever thinks that they should be in this waiting room, you know. And I think people, we all react differently when we hear news like that. So and it's so huge for people. So and people sometimes judge themselves for, you know, how they do react or what comes out of your mouth or what thoughts you have, or but most people just want to run. I know there's certainly been a few times that I wanted to run. How about you?
Well, it's kind of interesting, and I think it's the coach in me
Mm.
because I'm very when I go to my doctors, I'm very like, well, tell me the results and we can have a chit chat afterwards. I'm a very proactive person. I'm a very solution based person. If there's a problem, my immediate thing is, well, what's the plan of action now?
Absolutely. You get
I
very
don't
practical.
kind of personally, and this is,
Yeah.
and you, like you said, Sinead, everybody deals with news differently. There's
Mm.
no right or wrong way. I just know for me, I'm very much, they'd say, right, Siobhan, your kidneys are in trouble. I'm like, grand, yeah, no bothers. What do I need to do now to improve them?
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
case of like, oh goodness me, like, oh my goodness. It's a
Yeah.
case of, let's fight
Absolutely.
this.
What can we do? And I think, and it's fantastic when the doctors can come back to you and say to you, well, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do. And then it gives you something concrete to hold on to. I think, even if we don't like it, but I think for some people, when they go for hospital appointments and the doctors are looking back at you and you're saying, so what's next or what do we do? And they don't know exactly what it is. And I think that's very difficult for people to kind of to feel grounded, or what do you do with this? Would you have any advice for people who go in and they're not given a plan immediately?
And I can
When I
totally
say advice, I hate the word advice, sorry. Would you have an opinion around that?
I totally get where you're coming, Sinead, because your immediate is kind of despair and hopelessness and not knowing which way to go. But you have to, in a way, tap into that resilience that you've been working on.
Mm-hmm.
And your own mindset is something that will be able to help improve your physical health as well, because I firmly believe that they do go together and they are aligned in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out yourself, what can you do,
Yeah.
what other kind of avenues can you take,
Mm-hmm.
what other natural other avenues you can take.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more that you can do yourself
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
work with your doctors along with maybe other practices in which you can investigate or explore into.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think what people, and sometimes people say, I can't cope with this, I can't cope with this. But human beings are incredible, and you're living proof. I'm living proof that this is I think the space that you find resilience, and you actually find out how strong you really are and how resilient you really are. Um, anyway, enough about me. So let's move on in your story. So that was what was the plan for you?
Sorry, can you just repeat that, Sinead? Sorry.
Yeah. So after you got that diagnosis when you were 19, what happened after that, or what was your plan of action? Where did you go with that? What
Well,
did?
maybe for the first couple of years, I won't lie, there was no plan of action.
Mm-hmm,
So it was basically monitor your kidneys as you go along.
mm-hmm,
And as I was going along, it was getting worse, it was getting worse, and it was getting worse.
mm-hmm,
And I developed like a blessing in disguise in a weird way for me. I
mm-hmm.
developed an abscess in my tummy.
Okay.
And you have to drain an abscess to get rid of it. So they drained it, went for surgery to drain it, and they discovered that urine was coming out of the abscess, which shouldn't be happening. It's not, that's not normal. So they said, "Oh my goodness, this is strange on Siobhan." So they decided to explore my bladder,
Mm-hmm.
and lo and behold, when they did the scans on my bladder, they compared my bladder to a sieve. So if you see a sieve with flour, the flour goes through it. So there was so much holes in my bladder. So ultimately, my bladder gave up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had the life-saving surgery, and to this day, I am thanking everybody that's up there in the sky for the
Hmm.
surgery. In 2009,
Hmm.
I had a bladder augmentation, which is basically using piece of your tummy or your bowel to make your bladder a little bit bigger. So
Hmm.
my bladder is probably the size of double the size of maybe your bladder at home is. So
Okay.
it stores a lot more urine, and it's actually storing the urine now, and it's not flowing up into my kidneys.
Okay.
So
Fantastic. Fantastic.
it brought my creatinine from 400. For my height and size, 400 is quite high
That's
because
very high.
I'm only 4 foot.
Yeah.
But it's come down to 200, and I'm absolutely, like, I think it's a miracle because since 2009 I've been able to keep it at the 200 mark.
Okay. Wow.
So
Fantastic. And do
it's
you have many restrictions on your life then, Siobhan? Does that impact your life?
it's just like take my medication.
Hmm.
I'm on a low sodium diet, and obviously with kidney failure, I can't add salt to my diet, but I'm quite fortunate there as well because I never really added salt to my diet, so it wasn't something I missed. And just with my others, I try and do the best I can with my diet because of me being so small, my appetite is quite small anyway.
Hmm.
That I do have a little bit more lenience than maybe somebody else who's in stage 5
Okay.
kidney failure with their diet. But
Yeah, I remember that diet. Oh my God. And it's funny because the diet that's recommended, well, and it's the right diet, is low potassium, and potassium comes from all these foods, like all the fresh vegetables and fresh fruit and all these foods you're told to eat because they're really good for your health because they have antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. And of course they're good. They're just not good for people who are in end stage renal failure. Not good at all. So that plays with your head a little bit because you've got to have a mind shift, a mental shift in, okay, right now, this is what I need to eat and this is good for me. So you do learn a lot of skills during that time. And I often, when I hear people talking about, because people are challenged, either wanting to lose weight or gain weight, or, if I eat this, I'll be more healthy. If I do that kind of a diet, I'll be more healthy. And yeah, I find that amusing is the wrong word because that would be very judgmental of me. But I think it's certainly it's taught me a lot, and I work with people in a way in my work, whatever, and stuff like that. Not about me. Back to you. So when people go into end stage renal failure, generally speaking, my thinking is that they're going to need to go on dialysis, which is what happened to me. So what about you? Where are you in that journey?
um, I'm at 11% kidney function.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, it does change, but at the moment, you can function on 10%. And after 10%, you need to go on dialysis.
Okay. Okay.
So I haven't been on dialysis, excuse me. I can't even say the word.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a trigger, I won't lie.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
bit of a trigger point for me. So
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
saying the word dialysis
Yeah.
brings up something in me.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that
It's
I find
scary. It's
I find
scary, and it's kind of. I am butting in, but because I remember the day they told me, okay, Sinead, you need to go on dialysis, and I was so. I'll be fine. I'll do what I can do. I'll do everything you tell me. I'll exercise. I'll whatever, and that is not what prevents you from having dialysis, or it didn't prevent me from having dialysis. Certainly, I was at a certain stage, and for my health, it was the right thing. It was the advice I was given for me to do. But that doesn't mean that you're just going to go, oh yeah, of course I'll have it. It's huge for people. It is huge, huge, because it's almost like, well, for me, it was like, okay, I have to now be attached to a machine every day. And for me, that was a lot. Now I have to say, once I started on dialysis, I felt fine. It was a lot less scary, and that often is what happens. But I don't know exactly how you feel, but I know what that feels like. to have to make a decision like that, and listen to all the advice you're given, and then you make your own decision.
Yeah, and it's something I'm going to have to face.
Mm,
There's no point denying it. There's no point having my blinkers on. I
mm,
am going to have to face that decision.
mhm,
And it's something that my doctors reminds me on a monthly basis that that conversation is going to have to be had. And nine
mm.
times out of 10, I just say, not today.
Yeah,
I'm just not able today for that conversation.
yeah.
And I've been to the dialysis wards in Limerick, and I have the most amazing team of people behind me. It's
Mhm.
just something, it's like you say, it's scary.
Yeah.
It makes me emotional because
Mhm.
it's not something I want for my life,
Mhm.
because I spent my whole childhood in hospital.
Yeah.
I spent my whole childhood hooked up to machines.
Mhm.
I would prefer not to have to spend my adulthood hooked up to machines.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I know it's a very personal choice
Yeah.
for each and every person. And even people watching today, you may be faced with that decision yourself.
Mm.
And I just want to tell people that it's a very personal choice, and nobody can judge anybody for the choices that they make
Mhm.
for their soul or their bodies. It's up to yourself.
Absolutely.
It's a life-saving treatment. I firmly believe it's a life-saving treatment. But
It
where
is.
I stand in my life right now, I
Mhm.
can't 100% dedicate my life to it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not to say that I'm giving up on life,
Of
because a lot of
course not. God Almighty, I know you. You're far from giving up on life. Yeah, and I suppose, and we are going to go a little bit over time today, folks, because I've just gotten this conversation is obviously interesting. We have this in common, but I suppose if you are somebody that is on that cusp of will I, won't I, and like Siobhan is saying, it is a very personal thing. But for me, once I started, and there's no, I didn't love being on dialysis. There's no doubt about that. I didn't.
yes.
It was inconvenience. But what it did do was it's life-saving. It kept me alive. I actually felt much better on dialysis because I did have symptoms. I felt awful before I went on dialysis. I could just about function, but I was still fighting it. And so I would say I got more of my life back than I lost by going on dialysis. And nowadays as well, and I was really lucky because I ended up on home hemodialysis, and some people go for peritoneal dialysis. And now I'm getting into this is a little bit complicated, maybe in terminology, but basically I had the one that was a needle in the arm. Some people have one that's a tube in their tummy, and you can do it overnight. So it actually you go to bed, you hook yourself up, you go asleep, it does its job, and then you're off it in the morning. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
nobody wants to be, you just want to sleep. But just from the point of view, if you are somebody that's thinking about this, that is an option. And it really impacts much less on your life. And it gives you autonomy and independence. So I did my own dialysis. So, and I didn't have, which sometimes can happen, judgment from some members of staff, and hugely supportive from other members of staff, or it could have been how I was on the day and how I perceived it as judgment. And then, like what you were talking about, Siobhan, about, you're in a room and there's people who are older, or there's people who are younger, and there's people who are sicker, and there's people who are better. And that you're looking at all of this going on around you, which can also be quite frightening for people. So that's all I'm going to say on dialysis. I'm going to stop talking now, because I want to shift this completely back to you, Siobhan. So I am going to give you a wish. One wish with my magic wand. What would that be for you? What would be your one wish in life?
Wow, it's a very, very powerful question, and I absolutely love it. And not to bring it back to health again, but I
Go for
think
it. It's your wish.
because I have fought
Mm.
so hard, and I am in stage 5 kidney failure, and I feel fine. I'm not going to say fantastic, because, like, do you know what I mean? Like, every day is a different day, but I feel fine today.
Yeah.
So if I had one wish, can I have my kidneys for a while longer, please?
I would love to grant you that wish, but
And
that's
if
up to
they
the
go for
universe.
just because they've done 15 years on stage 5, they have never let me down once. They have gone to the the brink many's a time, but they've come back.
Yes.
They're my friends, so
Yes.
keep being good to me, please. That's
Well,
all.
I'll have a word with the universe and cross my fingers for you. All right. So Siobhan, can you tell people who are watching today where they can find you on social media, any events you're doing? Please mention your book, because I think that some people will find that really, really helpful to read that book, because it's a fascinating read. So off you go, Siobhan. Where can we find you?
First of all, Sinead, I just want to thank you so much for having me on today. I really enjoyed connecting with you and talking to you in such a deep, meaningful conversation. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
So people can find me. They can find me on Facebook, Siobhan Mungoven Coach. My book is called Me and My Backbone. I nearly forgot it for a second. And if people want to follow me on Instagram, it's Keep Smiling Coach. So
Yes, and you should on Siobhan's actually, well, I see mostly on your Facebook feed, but Siobhan does these really creative videos. Some of them are quite funny, but they make you think, and they go deeper than even when you look at it first on the surface level. But when you think about her videos, they're actually quite deep, and I love them. So there you go. So I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook. Do you want to say goodbye, Siobhan?
thanks, guys. See you. Bye.
Okay.
Happy Christmas.
I'm just going to take us off stop live stream, and I'm going to stop recording.